How you doing?
Wow. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, long time. What's it been? Been a year and a half since I connected with you.
I think even more.
It
Yeah.
was uh it was summer of 2022.
Nice. Yeah, I was in Mexico, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was in California. Yeah. Where are you these days?
I'm in Playa Venao, Panama.
That's home for you, huh?
Yeah. I love that, huh? It's like
That's where you've been. Have you been there for some time now?
yeah. Like a year now. This past year was whole integration of ancestral lineage and root embodiment and like crystallization of security and safety by myself. It's been like war, but now it's more like I feel like a backbone grounded in that.
Yeah.
So
Are you enjoying being home?
yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. Really
Hmm.
pretty.
Great. And then I know last time we spoke, you were starting to work on your offer for your practice and how's that gone for you?
Oh, it's so successful. Yes. It's mm, okay, you're back.
Pros.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
This happens even with my coaching like containers. These interruptions calibrates people to okay, what's the next scene image that has to happen? So let's just flow with it.
So yeah. Tell me, you started I remember you were just in the beginning stages and you were working on it with a friend. What's transpired since then?
Wow, just full on embodied empowerment, full on queen energy, full on success, like high results, like people healing from porn addiction, cancer. I mean, high ticket entries, results, love, integration. I don't know. It's just happening. It doesn't feel like I'm doing it. It seems like I just allowed a high level of self integrity. I think every area of my life became so clear and in honor within myself that the field just started reflecting that in business success too.
Yeah, beautiful. Good for you. I'm happy for you. I know you were working
Yeah.
at that for a while.
Yes. Yes. It was a long time. And I
It's
did. Okay. We're back. Hey,
Are we back?
we're back.
Do you think it'll stabilize for
It
this?
will. It will. It happens. Like when the interview is supposed to flow, it does. So let's see what's supposed to happen.
Yeah, okay.
It will.
And did you have any so maybe you could fill me in a little bit more about have you been doing like a podcast? What prompted the reach out and can you give me some like color around what you've been creating with the interviews and
Well, it's actually beings that they have a code. Like I feel like you have a frequency that has also benefited my journey. So I invite them on because when that already has happened, like when I have like subtle interactions with them through the field, and then something, yeah, like it's like an intuitive knowing that now I
Yep.
want to share their work with others so people can also receive that benefit. And
Great.
I've been doing it with like 5 people sometimes. It's that hasn't been much. It's just like
Okay.
specific people. Yes.
And where have you been sharing it?
On my YouTube. I mean, I have my own podcast. It's called Truth Porn. It's edgy. It's like I'm like filtering all
Great.
the addicts. Like, hey, just and I'm not gonna give you that, but you can have timeless wisdom. So
I love that. That edgy name.
yeah. It's a huge success. So that's the podcast, and the interviews are just I call it friendly cash ups with soul friends that are in their power and creating service for the world. And I want my audience to get some of that too.
Perfect. Great. That would just give me some context because I wanted to just wait to get on here and hear it from you and just understand and
Yeah.
Yeah. So know what I'm speaking into, and yeah.
Yeah,
And oh, go ahead.
I'm just I have let you lead the call, so we haven't started. So you have been like interviewing me. So I'm just like, okay, but
Yeah, and
but
I
yeah,
figured there was
yeah.
there would be a defining start point when you were ready, and
Nice.
you can edit it down at any point, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. It always comes out whatever needs to be posted. But you're cool with everything, right? Like if I felt called to like share the whole thing as it goes.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
I
Shall we
mean,
dive in?
yeah. I mean, I think it's the actual reflection of your field that speaks more than anything I'm going to ask you. Because if I'm able to instantly drop in my softness and you're leading the call, that's just the reflection of where you're at with a potential student, isn't it?
When I work with people in one-on-one or groups, I typically, when I get on there with somebody, I like to just listen for what's in the space at the moment, rather than, I have frameworks and I have ways to approach supporting people given wherever they're at in let's say a certain stage of development or a certain area of their life. And I can come in with my agenda, and I can come in with things that I think would be supportive for that person given where they're at. And I also remember that each week or every other week or whenever we meet, whatever cadence we're on, that something completely new might be in the space that is more important to tend to. And so I really learned that from my own mentor after him having done years and years of transformational coaching and personal development work in a very structured, organized way around the world. He really got that a more effective way of being with people was to work with what was present in the space and less out of the agenda and the structure. And so I really do my best to take that approach. Now, there's sometimes where it's a little bit maybe more pragmatic if there's something we're really chipping away at consistently, yet we'll always still have time and space to deal with whatever's present in that moment.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, it's kind of it's more true that way because it's
Mm-hmm.
authentic response to whatever it's alive.
That's it. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, good. So let's see. I read some of your previous posts, and there was something about going to jails and hospitals and doing some pro bono work with them. Is that true?
J- Jails and hospitals. No, that wasn't me. But pro bono work for sure. I haven't been in jails and hospitals. That's not me.
Okay, so what was you have a post of some type of work that you've been doing. Tell me about it before, yeah, this past year of your journey.
Okay. Is there another post maybe you're referring to? I'm trying to tune into.
Yeah, let's see if we find it. I'm like, why did I said that? I'm pretty sure I read it. Nice. Maybe I'm tapping into a timeline in which you're just
I've been to jail when I was younger, in my more wild addicted days, but yeah.
Oh, really? That's cool to know. Like that's good for people have so what was the addiction or the
Yeah, so when I was in the US Marines from 2006 to 2010.
right.
And during that time, I was between the ages of 20 and 24 during that 4-year period. And, alcohol was a very big part of my life, let's say, at that time. It was, one of the ways that I found escape slash reprieve from the internal landscape that I didn't have the capacity or slash awareness to how to be with. And those alcohol related incidents that I had were often exacerbated by prescription medication that I was on as well to cope with obsessive compulsive disorder, anxiety, things that were just helping me function and do my best to adapt to being in a very high stress environment such as the Marines. And so there were several occasions where I had been out in town on the weekends during our off time, which wasn't much. And I would be out with like another fellow Marine and we would be at a club or a bar. And there were two incidences that I can remember very specifically where I had both taken my prescription pills and was on a lot of alcohol and had some really erratic behavior that led to me end up getting put in jail for short periods of time.
That's fun.
And yeah,
Not
yeah, yeah.
suggesting it. That's suggesting.
Yeah.
God.
So yeah, that was really early on, and I am very fortunate that I was able to get off of those experiences, those arrests, those times in jail with minimal to no long-term punishment or consequences. Being a Marine helped, getting some leniency from the judge, the court. However, yeah, I was had a very troubled childhood, troubled time in the Marines, all of that compound complex trauma, and just exacerbated it all with drugs and alcohol at the time. So yeah, so that was my run-ins with jails, but I haven't done any work in jails or hospitals yet. Although
Nice.
it's definitely come up as a possibility at some point, it's just not spoke to me currently.
I hear you. Nice. Perhaps I was tapping into the timeline when you get the invitation, like, can you give a speech in this jail for the whole community and things like that? That'd be
Yeah,
so fun.
yeah, definitely considered it at some point. We'll see.
We'll see. Nice. Okay, let's stay in the present. Thank you for that share. So what then kind of what did you do to heal yourself after those experiences?
Yeah. In 2016, I was in, where was I? I was in Europe, but I was specifically, I believe I was in Germany. I was in, no, not Germany. I was in Switzerland. And I had a person that I had been mutually connecting with. When I say mutual, we had mutual friends online. I had never met this guy in person. However, we had followed each other's paths on Facebook, and he reached out to me and he saw that I was in Europe and he says, "Hey, I've got an extra spot over in Berlin if you want to come stay and meet and hang out." And I was like, "Okay, great." And just prior to this is the summer of 2016, I had just listened to the book Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, and I would call it, quote unquote, for lack of a better phrase, my first spiritual awakening. I finally stepped out in an instance of being literally lost in my mind, never really having had a period of more than a second or two to actually see my thought and reflect on my life. It was more of a constant, literally lost in a dream. And Power of Now gave me some purchase. It gave me some space from my thoughts. And when I had that experience, it was so expansive. It really felt like something new had opened up in my life, that there was something else possible that I was really getting access to. And it was a feeling of real overwhelm of excitement and openness with life and people that hadn't really experienced. And so shortly after that, that's when I get this invitation from this person. His name is Nadav. He's actually down here in Cape Town now, South Africa as well, where I'm at. And
Fun.
so I go over to his place in Berlin and I'm staying with him. And I noticed that this guy has a real expansive way of being about him, very different than anybody that had been on my path for the prior 30 years of my life. And as I'm there in Berlin, he he's in the other room with this guy named Josh, and they're talking about this course that they had went to that changed their life, changed their business, their relationships. And I remember coming out of the bedroom and into the kitchen where they were, and I was like, "Hey, what are you guys talking about? What's this course?" And they said, "Oh, it's Landmark." And I was like, "Okay." And they shared a little bit, and I went in the other room and I looked online, and I saw a lot of people saying it's a cult, it's this, and I was really then skeptical because I grew up in a very fundamentalist Christian home. Then I was in the US Marines, and I felt like I had already been in these like high control, high influence environments. And so I was very cautious and discerning about subjecting myself to another one. However, there was one person who wrote a blog post that says, look, she was very skeptical. She went through the Landmark, and what she got, that it wasn't a cult, because cults are there to take you away from society. And Landmark was all about helping you better integrate and relate to society. And that did it for me. And the next day, I got on a plane and I flew from Berlin to London, and I went through that experience, and it racked my brain and confronted me so much that on the third day, I actually walked out because it was too much. However, a lot of the principles and the distinctions from which they teach, I just couldn't unhear them. I couldn't unsee them. And it started to help me unravel the beginning stages of 2+ decades of holding on to a lot of anger, hate, resentment, pain towards my parents for a lot of things that happened in childhood. Physical abuse, being medicated since I was age 6 and put in doctor's offices. And yeah, and it just led me on this path. What I did do right after that kind of, I don't like to say set me back, but just really exacerbated all of this, is I took all of these insights and I went and used it to serve my ego. I'm like, oh, I've got something. I've got something now. Now I'm going to go get rich quick in building these businesses.
Oh my God, I love it. The honesty.
Yeah. And then that's where like a lot more pain and suffering started to, let me say it another way, where I started to become aware of a lot of the pain and suffering I was creating because I had more of an awareness, and I was able to start seeing these patterns. And business became one of my great, great teachers to show me where all my shadows were, where all my unresolved stuff was. So that was kind of a beginning stage. And then if I just fast forward it to today, I would say some of the pillars along the path of entrepreneurship, building a multi-million-dollar business to even going financially bankrupt. I've seen the highs and lows. Coming out the other end of it now, and now having my coaching consulting practice from a heart-centered place. Some of the key pillars in helping me resolve addiction, trauma, come back into my heart, my purpose, my connection to God, would be somatic nervous system based therapeutic practices. It would be coaching and mentorship as a staple. My connection with God. I'm a follower of Jesus and the Bhagavad Gita. I'm a non-fundamentalist, non-religious perspective, making that very clear here. I'm not into dogma. And also a lot of work in detoxing my physical body, detoxing the organs, rebuilding my gut microbiome, going through brain retraining programs. It was a holistic approach of aligning my life in my dharma, God, healing my body, my brain, resolving trauma, and cleaning up relationships. Those are some of the big pillars that supported me getting to where I am today.
Wow, beautiful. And I love how you end that with, well, not end that, but the point of relationships, because I was pondering with one of my business partners today, and he was like, everything is relationships, everything's life. Like we're trying to, well, and excited to hear your perspective, but how I see it is we're all trying to go back to true love and find love through each other, through relationship, partnership, sex, marriage, whatnot, with ourselves, healing our traumas. So if we have great relationship with God and ourselves, then that would translate in great relationships with others, which is the basis for love, life, business, money, abundance, everything, isn't it? Or how do you?
Yeah, that's a great, yeah. I mean, I'll say I fully agree that to me, relationships are, I assert, the biggest pillar of energy that a human being is navigating in their life, and that our lives are made up of the conversations that we are in. Our life is a series of conversations and people. And so if I'm still living from a view from my past conversations and things I've held on to and relationships that where there's unresolved, incomplete, I'm saying it a bunch of different ways,
Yeah.
unresolved, incomplete energy and so on and so forth, then all of that is then informing how I show up in my present relationships. And so if I'm carrying all of that energy from my past and it's just showing up in my current, then I'm just simply continuing to recreate it. And if I know that my life is created through other people, I'm in conversations, like co-creating the world. We live in a world of interdependence. Like, just to
Yes.
be able to use a cell phone or to buy groceries, like, to have a lover, it's all done through people. And so if I'm carrying all of this weight from my past and I'm just engaging all this today, that's a heavy load to carry. And I find that weighs people down more than anything. And most people are oblivious to that fact. And the second point on that, there's two more points on that. It's in relationships, but I'll be even more specific. There's the foundational relationship, which is the one that we have with our parents.
Mm.
And there's a great quote by Werner Erhard, who founded Landmark. And this quote was my spiritual guidepost for my first 5 years on this path. And the quote is, until you complete the relationship with your parents, all your relationships will be about your parents.
Mm.
And so, meaning that anywhere where there's unresolved, incomplete, where you're angry, frustrated, grief, avoidance, content, whatever it is, that anywhere blaming, judging, making wrong, anywhere where that's still occurring with your parents, the law is that's occurring out here in all of your other relationships, whether you're conscious of it or not.
Nice.
So I have people really look at the parents and first work on getting that one complete. And then that starts to create a trickle ripple effect where they start to see all the other ways in which those things are showing up in all of their other past relationships or present, dead or alive. Now, the final point to this is, even with all of that being cleared and complete, what I would assert here, and this is the first time I've talked about it publicly because I really needed to be it and undergo this process myself, was that ultimately, what I believe, what we're truly seeking in relationship is a relationship with the divine.
Mm.
And we're seeking that love outside of us. And people have forgotten that they're the source of that which they seek. And they try to look for it in the relationship. They look for it, with a significant other or a best friend, or they're looking for the love there and forgetting the source of which they seek. And I assert that that's where a lot goes wrong. And I assert that's why there's a lot of relational challenges and problems in the world because we're trying to seek God in another, and we haven't built our foundation on rock. It's been built on sand, and we're trying to build it on a faulty foundation in another human being. That's my whole perspective around relationships and the order of magnitude, importance, ways to look and approach them.
Wow. Fuck yes to that. I mean, that was my whole journey this past year. I literally live next to a tree. I'm like, this is my foundation. This is my kingdom by myself and God. No need anybody. And then no need interdependence. We all need each other.
Yeah.
Yet from a balance point, no need to
Yeah.
seek for validation or love or approval or whatever. It's exactly what you said. When I healed my relationship with my mom and my dad and my stepdad and my stepmother, it's many layers. Then all of my other relationships shifted and my communications with people, which created better connections and relationships and opportunities and everything.
That's it. Just, it's really simple math.
Well, now I'm like, holy fuck, 10
Yeah.
years and how many lifetimes?
What I mean by simple math, it's like once you look at it logically, it's like, oh yeah, I can see if this is not, if my, if my car, I'm just making up an analogy on the spot. If like my car, the windshield's dirty and I clean the windshield, then my view is going to be different. If I
Nice.
clean up all the things I'm holding in my relationship from the past, and how I'm going to view other people is just going to be different. It's like, it's real to me. It's really, when I heard that quote, till you complete the relationship with your parents, all your relationships will be about your parents. It was just so, and this was like when I was really, really early on in this path, like my first couple of months, it was that undeniably clear for me that I just chipped away at it for 5 years. I'm not saying that the work was easy. However, the logic was so sound and undeniable for me.
Yeah.
Because I see all of the pain that I had been creating in relationship, and I could see how it was a result of what I'm just holding. So simple math. Yeah. Simple to see, a little bit takes some work to integrate.
Yes. What I hear is that you are in an embodiment of it. That's why it's easy now. So that's why you're ripe. We've always been, but even riper for deeper transformation with people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
Nice.
And it's like, what you said as well. You said not needing anyone. Yeah, but then you backed it up. He says, yeah, interdependence. I guess another way I would say it is just no longer seeking to find yourself in another, not seeking to find salvation, not seeking to find love, not seeking to find joy. You don't need anyone for that. That's the other way
I love it. It's now
yeah.
we're quoting. So you're a great storyteller, by the way.
Thank you.
Tonalities too. It's like, yeah. This quote from Nisargadatta Mahara comes in. It was, have your search for love ended?
What was that again? Sorry.
Have your search for love ended? A quote from Nisargadatta Mahara.
Okay. Has your search for love ended? I like that.
Yeah.
I've not heard that before.
Yeah. It's, to me, it's just the instant reflection of like, yes, it has, because that's finding one's inner source and then being able to be a beacon from the king queen energy, though, not savior, not helper. I'm like, I couldn't give a shit. Like, I'm just enjoying my life so much that people just come to me like, hey, can you? I'm like, well, okay. So it's easy.
Yeah. I like this topic. It's a very, I'd say it's a common pattern of the human condition. I have many, many clients that I have worked with, currently working with, and have worked with, and that I mentor, that are all, not all, but many of them, I would say a majority of them, definitely a majority of them, are still working through that, still being hooked by the world of form,
Mm,
in this instance, particularly relationship, as a way to cope with internal unease around
mm,
something they're dealing with. And they're utilizing and attempting to utilize relationship as a way to resolve their unease. And it's so common. It's so common.
nice. Yeah, that's what it is. It's, I would say that everybody is an addict in some shape or form.
100%. I assert I did this great program a couple, 2 or 3 years ago through an organization called Being True to You. And it's essentially what they work from is utilizing addiction as a platform for awakening. And so it's addiction, psycho-spiritual integrative coaching, and they go deep into the world of addiction. And I was going through this as I was in my own journey into quote unquote recovery, for lack of a better phrase. And what they assert, which I truly do believe, is that pretty much the whole world deals with some sort of addiction. I'm paraphrasing here. It's but at what degree, the varying degrees of intensity based on unresolved trauma, other factors. And yeah, it's just like, it's like, our environments and societies and the way life is, it's just so set up to so much to reach for, like to grasp at, to fulfill, and then bombarded with media and social media, like all of it. So yes, I do believe that until one becomes aware of it and then keeps coming, back into presence, holistically balanced, quote unquote, healed, to where they've totally reoriented their life, their health, their mind, their body, so that they're just no longer being used by life.
Wow, that's so well put.
Yeah.
Even the quote unquote healed. I want to touch onto that. And first, oh my God. And then we're gonna just touch onto that. I'm like, what was the first thing? I lost it and I loved it. Why quote unquote healed? Would you say that there's always deeper refinement, even though there's a balance center, or where did that came from?
Well, that's a good. I like that you're paying attention to my quote unquote. Last year in March, I went to Portugal to work with Iboga. For those who don't know, Iboga comes from Gabon, Africa. It's considered the strongest plant psychedelic in the world. Think you can think of like ayahuasca times, I say 100. And
Nice.
its lineage is from the Bwiti tradition in Gabon, Africa. And in the Bwiti tradition, they believe once you properly work with it in a ceremonial context with the full spirit and lineage, that when you're done with that work, that you are healed. You're done. And the past is no more. And so that was really hard for me to grasp. I was like hearing this as we were going through this after our one of two ceremonies. And just to give a perspective of intensity, most of us were awake for 6 of the 8 days,
Whoa.
fully awake. And so after the first session, I was in conversation with one of the facilitators, like looking at the tradition and understanding the mind and the somewhat illusory notion of trauma in our past being real. And there came a point where I really grasped it, that the past doesn't have any more hold on me unless I just choose to give it that I can be healed and done. And I can like now focus on creating my life. I had done
Yes.
so much up to that point, hundreds of thousands of dollars invested over the past 7 years in some of the best psychedelic treatment centers with doctors, top trauma therapists, coaching, courses, everything, you name it.
Right.
I really grasped this ancient wisdom that I can just be done with all of that. And my mentor, Anurag, had told me the same thing for many years. He was saying it in different ways. And I just had enough space and awareness in that moment to just grasp. And I really got that I'm not up to the game of healing.
Mm.
It's like, another analogy I'll give is our life is not about healing. Our life is about creating a magical life. And along the way, healing might take place as a byproduct of having a larger aim. For instance,
Nice.
you don't buy a car to drive to the gas station. It'd be crazy to buy a car and drive to the gas station all day, different gas stations. You buy a car to enjoy your drive, to enjoy driving it, to it takes you where it takes you. And along the way, you stop for gas.
Nice.
And so that really helped me drive that point home that I'd been hearing in different ways and really get that I can choose to be done with that now. And I could focus on creating my life. And I have tools and resources to take care of what needs to be taken care of as it arises. And so that's where like the quote unquote healed, I do believe there's a point where all of that can be done.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that's a conversation I had with one of my mentors 2, 3 days ago. I'm like, I saw a line. He's like, in which business are we on really? And I'm like, and he's like, is it the healing business? It's not. Think about it. It's helping people create better stories, tell a better story of their life.
That's a great way. That's a great way to do it.
And as
Yeah.
we write the story, as you said, then somatic responses may come, nervous system trips, traumas, memories from the past. Then the healing happens as a byproduct of retelling a better story.
Yes.
Like you said.
Yeah. 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 That's I love that frame. I haven't heard it that way. The other way it's lived for me is that by having a bigger aim and context from which I live my life, like my life is about creating magic. My life's about being of service. My life's about being aligned in my dharma and
Nice.
being aligned in dharma and connection to God, that stuff will still come up, but I will move through it with much more grace, ease, and joy because I'm being pulled up by a bigger context, or in other words, a better story.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yes. Like, yes. I mean, that's perfect.
that's it.
I'm like, it seems like we're all living the dream. I mean, all you, me right now. That's all. So, what would be your ideal student relationship for the new people that you want to call in as, yeah, students, clients?
Yeah, I've done a lot of reflecting on that over the past about year and a half. So my first year and a half, I had started coaching people a few years ago, but I was giving it away free, just a lot, just supporting people in my communities, passing on things that had been passed on to me, mentoring people. And it was about a year and a half ago, I stepped into charging for my services.
Nice.
And I still do a lot of mentorship and pro bono work, and I also charge as well. And so I've had this time to really reflect on who are the people, the avatar, if you will, that I am drawn to work with and know that I can make a great impact with, that I love playing with, right? Some people like to, have people, they like to go hiking with, and some people have people they like to go traveling with, and so I'm like, who do I like serving in this way that I have a lot of fun with? And to me, it's the 6 to 7 figure entrepreneur who is dealing with burnout, illness, addiction, and they are caught up in some sort of chase. They're starting to get a hint of awareness that their plan, their will, their agenda isn't working out the way they thought it was. They've maybe reached some idea. Sorry, let me say it another way. They've maybe reached some version of success that they had in their mind, to find out, wow, this wasn't it. I've still got things that are leaving me not at peace. And or the person who's on their way to success and starting to get hints that this isn't it. So I came to that because I had been business partners and close friends with a gentleman who became one of the top cash poker players in the world. And I was there when he started to have his awakenings. I was sharing my life and he had seen the changes in me, and it was starting to wake him up. And I watched him really get that even having all those millions of dollars wasn't it. And so that was like my first hit of it. And that was like 6 years ago, witnessing somebody very close to me really get that in real time and to see it. And so I got that transmission. However, I was still in that chase because I had made quite a bit of money from a successful business, but I hadn't reached the level he was at. And anyways, fast forward, as I start working with clients, I started seeing that I was, I'd worked with NFL players and special op military veterans and CEOs. And I started to see that avatar come towards me. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's because I had already went on my path of, building a multi-million-dollar business, losing everything in bankruptcy. I've got some wisdom in this area. And so then I started to see, like, I had a lot of fun helping people jolt out of that already always conditioned way of being, of chasing it and trying to find that in the world of form, trying to find their peace and joy rather than being peaceful and joyful and bringing it to what they do. And so, to say it just more succinctly, the people that I'm now starting to distill down and focus on are those 6 to 7 figure entrepreneurs who've had success or chasing some version of success, and they're dealing with addiction, burnout, trauma, illness, and they're looking for a more effective way.
Fuck yes.
Yeah.
Wow. So eloquent. I mean, even before you said to simplify it, I was going to say, that's so eloquent. You're like, okay, and even more eloquent.
Yeah.
So now, for anybody watching, if that's you, oh, that's the next question. So how did they find you?
Right now, this first year and a half, I did no website. I actually only worked on word of mouth and referral. And so you can find me on Instagram. I'll soon put a website out in the next few months, but my website, we'll link it in wherever this is going to be posted. But Jeremiah Dupin, she'll spell it out, and just send me a DM on Instagram and we can start up a conversation. We can set up a call. If anything I've shared here today resonates with you, I'd love to see if it's a fit for working together.
Yes. That was so exciting. Like I'm like, yes, I will.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thanks for having this conversation with me and inviting me on.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for your journey, for like walking your path. That's like, damn, like, just got a badge. If I could give you a badge, I'd be like, here's your badge.
Give me a gold star.
No, gold star would be for the inner child. I see you as a king, so king
Thank
badge.
you. badge. I haven't, yeah, I've never looked at it from that perspective.
That too, though, because okay, we're done yet. This is coming up. Um, it's all of it, right? Like we all will always have the purity of our inner child, and how beautiful is not to suppress it. I remember what it was. You said play. That's what I do with my clients too. It is my
Yeah.
playground, and I teach through my inner child. So
Yeah.
there's no need to just be teen or baby or mother or lover or warrior, all the archetypes, Carl Jung, whatnot, if people are interested. We're all of it. How cool to just
Yeah.
see like which flavor appears one, right?
Yeah. Can tap into any of it at any time. It's playing here in the 3D game.
Nice. Okay.